Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life. I'm your host, Lori Palau, and I'm so happy that you're here. If you're listening in real time, we are in mid-March and daylight savings time has kicked in. That means it is later, if I could say that without getting tongue-tied. And the warmer weather has finally arrived. Hopefully, it is here to stay and is not just a teaser. But I am so excited. And if you're watching me on YouTube, you can see the excitement on my face. But before we get into it, I want to just remind all of you guys that along with spring, which is right around the corner, we are kicking off a whole series to help you get organized, make it fun, make it simple. And we are bringing our Clutter Clinic series back. We're taking it on the road, figuratively, that is. And we're kicking it off with Clutter Clinic closets. So if you're brand new to our tribe, our show, and all the things here, Clutter Clinic is a workshop that I created, gosh, over a decade ago. And it was designed as a way to make organizing fun, to make it less daunting, to less overwhelming, to normalize it, and realize that not everybody was just knows how to organize or knows how to declutter. And so I invited a bunch of women. I just put it out there and it was local. And I put it out there and I said, hey, do you guys want to join me for lunch? And it was a paid lunch and learn series. They came, they ate lunch, they asked questions, and I taught my organizing strategies the same way that I would if I were working with a client one on one. But it was a lot more affordable. It was a lot less, people felt a lot less exposed because they were in a room. I wasn't in their home digging through their drawers and closets. And it was just really fun and actionable. And that's what people loved about it. People loved the fact that they were able to walk away with real practical strategies and go, I never thought of doing it that way. And they brought their friends and we interacted. And it just really kind of took the wind out of the sails of that overwhelming feeling that oftentimes comes from thinking about decluttering and organizing. And so wanted to offer that up again, but for all of you out there. And since everybody is spread out and I am able to join you each and every week in your, on your speakers, in your earbuds, whatever it is, I figured let's do this as a virtual workshop. And I know people get tired of sitting in front of Zoom screens, but this is 1 hour. It's going to go quick. You can even multitask if you want. And we will be sending out a replay. So think of it as a live podcast. That's really what the best way for me to describe it is a live interactive podcast. And we're going to have a link below. It's simplybeorganized.com/workshop. There's a link in the show notes. It's also on the website. You can find it everywhere. But April 4th, and we are just going to be focusing in on closets, not just your master closet. We're going to be talking about hall closets and, storage closet. So just know that this is going to hit all the very specific roll up your sleeves granule stuff. And if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, join us. There again, I'm going to put the link below, but please know that spots are filling up and I'm really excited for this. So check that out. But today I wanted to kind of continue on this momentum. Our tip of the week episodes are all about spring cleaning. And this is a conversation that I've often with clients, and it is all about why you need to declutter before you organize, or why it matters, I should say, to declutter before you organize. And this is a topic that comes up a lot. And actually, my producer, Kimberly, who obviously is listening to this as she edits it, is currently in the process of getting her house ready to go on the market. And she is, trying to stage it and do all the things. And that in and of itself is super stressful. And I've been talking to her kind of offline all about that whole decluttering process. And again, whether if it's in her case, why she wants to get her house organized, but she's got to declutter it and get all the stuff out, or it's I want to declutter because I don't want to carry and pack all of my stuff and the stuff that, especially the stuff I don't need with me to the next house. Or the, more common thing is I just feel so overwhelmed and people think that the bins are going to solve it. And then they find out that they buy a bunch of stuff, half of it doesn't work, and the other half doesn't really solve their problem. Most of the time, people get frustrated because they have more stuff than they do space, or they can't find the stuff. And I always, always, always talk about the importance of having your stuff be easily retrievable. I don't care what it is, where you're looking, you want to know where your stuff is and you want to find it quickly. And so, again, I thought today it would be really helpful for us to talk about the order of things. What is the best order to do it? Now, again, there's more than one way to skin a cat, there's more than one way to organize a space. But I will tell you, anytime somebody is going to tackle a project and clutter is part of the issue, meaning they have more stuff or they have stuff that they don't use, they don't wear, that is just taking up space. That is stuff, half the time they have stuff that they don't even know that they have. That stuff to me winds up being clutter because it is taking up real estate. And I'm not talking about your sentimental items, people. That's different because that's serving a purpose. But just excess things that you have, getting rid of that and making space will allow you to hopefully spend less money on the actual organizing products. And I love a good bin. I love a good basket. I spend a lot of time at the Container Store and Home Goods and Target and all those places. But I want you to spend your time wisely. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 3 actionable steps that you can take to declutter your space before you organize. But again, I just want to reiterate a couple of key points about why I think it's important to declutter first. First of all, organizing is about creating a system for what you need and what you use. If you have too much stuff, even the best system is not going to work for you. Secondly, the container is not going to solve the problem. I tell this all the time, and this is one of the stories that I used to tell all the time at my clutter clinics when I talk about buying running shoes. You can buy the best, most expensive running shoes on the market. If you don't get out there and practice every single day, that is what it's going to make it easier, but it's not going to solve the problem. If you get these running shoes and they sit on your shelf, it's not going to get you in shape. It's not going to get you faster. It's not going to do all these things. The bin doesn't solve the problem. It just makes the process of what you're working towards more enjoyable and more efficient. And I want you to think about that. It doesn't solve the problem. It just makes things more efficient. And, I talk a lot about what I call organized clutter. And I'm sure you know somebody. There's a couple of my friends that actually come to mind as I'm telling this story that have probably more stuff than they need. And it's all in bins. So on the surface, you would say it's air quote organized. But the problem is when they go to look for what they're looking for, there's so much excess that they need to wade through or weed through. I don't know I guess weed through, that it takes them so long to find what they're looking for. And then oftentimes people start feeling overwhelmed and stressed and oftentimes guilty about the volume of things that they have, that it dilutes the whole point of having it in a bin, right? We don't need 20 bins of spare towels or, whatnot. You just need a limited amount of backstock, a limited amount of seasonal things. So just think about that. I want you to really have a shift in your mindset. If this is something that you struggle with, I want you to think about having things that serve you. And that doesn't just mean, and again, I've talked about this before, and I'm throwing no shade to Marie Kondo or any of our Marie Kondo people. I know that that methodology works for a lot of people. It's not my personal approach, but I will say keeping things that are bringing a value to your life. It might be something that you enjoy. It might be something that is practical that you use on the regular. It might mean something that, has some sentimental keepsake memories for you. All of that is value. It's the holding on to things just because you have the space. And what's even worse is a lot of times people don't even have the space and they're just holding on to it. So just remember that clutter is anything that is not serving you. That's how I define it. So, how do we go about decluttering? So, I'm going to go through three simple, practical things that you can start working on. The first one is what I call the 5-minute scan. Now, this is for a real like top line before you're going to embark on, tackling any closet or any space, fill it in the blank, right? It could be a closet, it could be a kitchen, it could be a playroom, garage, you name it. Before you get knee deep into the organizing project or the decluttering project, I want you to do a quick pass through. And this is especially relevant for people that have a lot of clutter, a lot of what I call surface clutter, like stuff that's out. So before you start getting really in the weeds, just do a quick pass through and look and say, what are the obvious kind of no brainer things? So if you are decluttering a pantry or a bathroom, you're going to look for things that are expired, right? Or like a half eaten bag of chips or something like that. Those are the easy no brainer things. If you are going to be like looking at papers, maybe you're going to look at things that are older than a year old. So I think you want to start to set some boundaries, some easy things that you could say. If you're going to go into your closet, you could just say, hey, listen, I know that I've either gained or lost weight. So anything that is, above a size whatever or below a size whatever, I'm just going to pull that out. So you're taking that whole decision fatigue out of it. You're not having to like stop and think and resonate along every single thing. This is a really good tip to use when it comes to kid stuff, especially as they size up out of things. Like before you decide, do I like it? Do I not like it? You're like, listen, my kid is now a size 8'10". So anything that's a 6X, I'm pulling out. It's not going to live here. You can decide what you're going to do with it after, but get it out of the space is the first one. So just do this 5-minute scan. Okay. Now, the second thing that you're going to do is ask yourself, and this one gets a little bit more in the weeds, or it gives you a little bit more thought, is what I call you're going to ask yourself the would I buy it again or would I miss it if it were gone? So this is a popular one when I'm working with kids because notoriously you will come across a toy or a game or something that they haven't played with in months, probably because it was buried at the bottom of like a toy bin. And all of a sudden they find it and they see it and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to have that. I love it. Meanwhile, they haven't asked for it in 6 months. But it's that, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that I had this. I wasn't missing it. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't ask for it. But now all of a sudden it is really important. And I've had this with clothes too, with people who are like, oh my God, I forgot I even had this. And so when you are having that happen, and of course that happens to us like every now and again, right? That's going to happen periodically. But if you start to notice that you have a pattern or that you're seeing a pattern of that happening a lot where you don't even realize what you have, that also is a little bit of a red flag that maybe you have more stuff than you do space, or you definitely need to institute a better system of organizing your space so that you can actually see what you have and enjoy it. So when you're going through this, would I buy it again or would I miss it? You want to ask yourself, if I didn't have this, would I go rebuy it? And this is especially, and I know we're going to dive deeper into this in Clutter Clinic. We're going to dive deeper into the would I buy it again kind of rule. But this is a really good one with people that spend a lot of money on things and then they have remorse, right? Maybe you went shopping and you did some impulse buys and then you're like, oh my God, this, I thought this looked great. And then you get it home and you're like, I don't really like it, but I already bought it. So I feel bad getting rid of it. Or again, there's always the pair of shoes that cost a lot of money and they're super uncomfortable, but we're going to still keep them because they cost us a lot of money. Or the jeans that unfortunately we don't fit into anymore, but I really, really like them, and it makes I'm holding out hope, but the reality is like that chips out. And I might be speaking about myself, So I think there's all of these questions about would I buy this again? So asking yourself this question and asking yourself the follow-up question is, would I really miss it if it were gone? Because oftentimes we're holding on to things because they're okay. Like I have them, they're fine, but I don't really love them. They're not really great. They're not really serving any great purpose, but they're just kind of there. And oftentimes we just become complacent with the things that are just kind of there. So you can try this out in a variety of different settings. You could try it with clothes, you could try it with kitchen gadgets. So just play around with like pick a low hanging fruit category, right? And just say, I'm going to try it with this and just say, would I buy this again? And don't spend a lot of time on it. If you find that you're marinating on something for a really long time, that's a red flag that you need to move forward and that you're a little bit stuck in your head in that emotional clutter. Which leads me to number 3, which is about setting limits. Okay. You want to set limits with how much time you're spending in each area. If you're finding that you're really getting bottlenecked, it is time to move on. It is time to move into a different area or set some better broad stroke boundaries or bring in some reinforcements. And that reinforcement can mean a friend if you're not going to hire a professional organizer. Of course, you can always do that, but if that's not in the cards for you, you can just bring in somebody else and say, I need somebody to help kind of get me through because this is very slow going and it's very painful. And I will tell you, the more often you start to practice building that muscle, that decluttering muscle, the easier it becomes. So just know that you're going to set some limits of time that you're going to do this. If it's painful and it's painstaking, it is not the right time, or the approach needs a little bit of tweaking, which again we can always walk through, and we're going to talk about that during our clutter clinic. And the other kind of actionable tip that you can do is if you're defining a space, and I use this a lot, is this is something I do in my personal life and I do with my clients. It says you looking at your space and realistically, what can my space hold? So if you don't have a big closet and you've maximized it to the best of your ability, you may only be able to comfortably fit 50 hangers in there. I'm making that number up. I don't know what your closet can hold, but let's just say that that's what you can hold. Or flip it the other way. Look at a dresser drawer, right? I know t-shirts are a big thing. At least for me, I always have t-shirts, like tons and tons of t-shirts, and I wear them to sleep. And sometimes I wear them to work out, or I'll wear them just around the house. And all of a sudden, every now and again, I'll see my t-shirt drawer getting like gremlins and it's just multiplying, and I have to go in there and kind of thin it out because even if I start doing some kind of origami folding, which is not my normal go-to, it still gets really crowded. So I have to decide what is the maximum volume that this space can hold. And for me, it might be 10 t-shirts, it might be 15 t-shirts, whatever that is, but make that decision and then stick to it. So once you say, this space can accommodate this amount of stuff, Or if you're not sure, it's like until the drawer is full. I need to be able to open and close that drawer without stuff getting shoved in it. I need to be able to move my clothes easily in the closet without it being jam packed and me holding my breath that the closet rod's not going to fall down. So, whatever that amount is, define it and then hold yourself accountable to it, right? And this is great. I used to do this with my kids all the time. So, if they had a toy bin with their stuffed animals and it started getting kind of overflowing, I would say, "Okay, guys, we need to go through it. This is your toy bin. We don't want things overflowing. So go through them and decide which ones we're going to keep and which ones we're going to donate." And so it is a practice of exercising that muscle, but you are not being the bad guy. You are defining the space and allowing your space to dictate the volume of stuff that you're keeping. And I think that's it. It's like this is what I can comfortably hold in my home or in my room or in my pantry. And I see this with some people that go and do big box shopping. If you live in an apartment, you going to Costco or BJ's probably doesn't make a lot of sense because you probably don't have a lot of room for backstock. If somebody lives in a 4,000 square foot home and they've got a garage and a basement and a big walk-in pantry, they can likely afford to hold some backstock. So not every space is created equal. And so we have to tweak our systems and strategies accordingly. So, once you have that and you can kind of figure all these things out and you've done this decluttering, then the fun stuff becomes. Then it's like, okay, what organizing products can make my life easier? This is when you go buy the running shoes. This is when you say, okay, these are the things that I need. I need it to be clear. I need it to be on wheels. I need whatever the situation is. But before we can even do that, we need to know what we're dealing with. And that is why I always tell my clients that we need to declutter first and then organize second. So if this is something that you can relate to, I'd love to hear your own stories. Feel free to reach out, let us know. And if it's something that you're struggling with and you found this episode useful, well, first of all, please share it with a friend, right? If there's somebody that you know that could benefit from this, please hit that share button. And the other thing is invite them to come join the Clutter Clinic with you. We're going to be going really deep into some specific areas of different closets, how to approach it, what products I do like when we get to that point, when to use hooks, when to use hangers, the types of storage, where to go get them, how not to break the bank on creating a closet design that's going to, serve you well. All these fun things. Those are just a few of the things that we're going to be talking about. And best of all, like I said, anybody that signs up is going to be able to have a Q&A with me if you'd like, and you'll get access to the replay. So even if you can't make our live event, if you do want to still get all the information, the live webinar recording and all that stuff, just sign up and you'll be getting the replay as well and all the other surprises that we have planned. So again, that's simplybeorganized.com/workshop. And we'll have that link below also wherever you're listening or watching this episode. So I hope that you found this useful, and I'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out.